Hey, good afternoon, guys. This is going to be the recap from December 6th. It's about, I don't know, 4:50, no, 4:36. So I couldn't see the time. But yeah, just wanted to go over this. I ended up taking three intraday trades, all of which were over, I think, like 60% or so. I did take one loss on snow, which was a big loss, but I only took one contract of it. I was trying to swing it overnight just based on the daily. Ultimately ended up failing kind of the setup that I was looking at, so just took the $100 loss on that. Still finished about 6% on the port, but I wanted to review these while we were all kind of fresh with the trades. Starting with SPY, right? First off, I do want to say I do think we're in a distributive phase right now, to be honest, at these highs. But with the distribution, you still can trade the range, albeit it is a little bit risky in the middle ground, as you guys can see. So what I've been doing is just spotting that there's dark pool orders that are bidding up the market, or at least trying to get fills here at this 450, 350 level. This is that weekly spot, if you guys can't tell, here at the start of the gap. And then it goes up to this point here, right around the gap fill, and that's where we ended up getting our weekly high from last week at 456.38. And really what's going on is they're collecting inventory down here, just any of the remaining available shares. They're selling up here, collecting, selling a little bit, collecting, selling, right? And that's all they're doing over and over again until they collect enough of the excess supply in this upper range, right? They may have had some down here, but remember, a lot of people like to FOMO the tops. A lot of people think it's easy money to trade the breakout. So as it's pushing up and trying to trade to the highs, they're probably selling, right, and then pulling it down and collecting inventory until they have enough, right, and then they'll probably sell and then bid the market down at a certain point. Probably under the guise of a major catalyst, news catalyst would be my best guess. But this does look distributive. I'm expecting a UTAD though, so a big pop out. I would assume a break over 459, potentially to 462, right? That's why I have that marked. I think that's the high of this entire range, and I think we could potentially sell off. But right, that's just kind of my views. But what I've been doing is kind of what they were doing, right? Anytime we tapped into this 453.5 zone, you guys can see my little green zone. I was looking to add calls or contracts and then try to overnight them, right? Just to get some overnight success and a pop intraday if it does happen that way towards 459 to 459.44, basically the high of this range. What we ended up getting here was an inside bar, clearly, and we got a close over that previous week high at 456.38. Let's go to a smaller time frame, right? You guys can just see, right? We traded within the confines of the previous day, bar by bar wise, right? Bounced right off our spot, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? And then we got our close right here over that zone. Okay, you guys can see that, right? And we can draw a trend line if we want to. I don't really need one, but it looked good going into a Tuesday. Usually, though, Wednesday is our high of the week, so I figured if there was going to be a day that this popped, it was going to be Wednesday, right? Wednesday we can always assume is the high or the low of the week. And then, of course, right, we'll just go ahead and remove this. You guys know I ended up taking the 459 calls. I did go pretty heavy on them. I had about 50 contracts or so of 460 or no 459s, and then I had 20 contracts of the 460. So I put a lot into this trade right around the close as we got pushed up in the last like 5 or so to get the close over this level. But you know, this ended up being about an 80% win. If we take a look here, we ended up getting a nice gap up right to 859. Fortunately, didn't get the touch, so I still think this is in play. But I closed out all my position up here, and then of course we started to trickle down and fill the overnight gap, right? I think we got the exact touch, of course, yeah, right there. And that was all I was interested for that trade. I did take an SPX as well. I don't know if we want to review that or not, but we ended up getting this push down to 4.5. I think it was 4.5. And we got this inverse head and shoulders. No, it might have been right here. We'll review that a little bit later, right? I don't think that was a big play. It was like a 70% win. Yeah, it was like right around here. I saw the consolidation and then it popped, and I was looking for a simple retest of this spot here, right? But I noted that we were able to kind of consolidate underneath this weekly. We tested it a couple of times, and then we finally got the press out, and then I was obviously in calls, risking the low down here, right? So something like this. That was my risk, and then I was looking to trade it back up to 457, 456, which was a retest of the breakdown. SPX can be great for these things as long as you make sure your bottom isn't going to knife through. I can kind of tell, right, we do have some valid support all throughout this zone. I mean, remember, this is a range, so as you start to make your way towards the bottom, there's an opportunity to be taking that as an entry and then risking the lows. But yeah, this was a quick one. Let's jump into the other one, which was a primary trade. This was Airbnb. I took this on live trading today. I think a lot of you guys hit on it. I think everyone hit on all three trades pretty nicely. The only one that I obviously missed on was Snow, but let's look at that one. All right, Airbnb, this is exactly how my levels looked, right? Kind of had the little note here. We wanted this level to be cleared with a gap above, and then we were looking for a pullback onto this little spot, right? This little red zone. Remember, this is the top of the gap. If we think about this from a progression standpoint, the sellers are going to be losing control of kind of this zone, right? I mean, they want to try to keep price under this gap to keep that progression up. So this is going to be a crazy support if it is held, and then we should see a nice move off of this. We talked about too with these big bars like this, it's the potential. This isn't a peg candle, right? Because it's not coming from like earnings or anything like that. But this is a strong candle, right? With a strong close at the top. And what you're looking for is just a simple pullback, right? With either a rest day or two. But really, you can treat this as its own 618, right? You wouldn't want to see this pull lower than like the 0.5, 0.618 for this to kind of maintain the strength of that candle. But really, with how this kind of rested near the highs here, and then it closed once again near this candle's lows, obviously a little bit higher. But remember, we're trying to control this entire gap zone. So the fact that we closed in this zone, we're on like the upper fourth of this, very, very strong candle here. I thought this was a very, very good chance of it getting a nice gap up towards this 135.36 level, and that's what I was looking for, right? If you guys remember the scan last night, we were looking for something like this, pull back, and then we were looking for a go to 140. Okay. Now, if I hit the play button, let's go to a smaller time frame. I'll show you guys exactly what happened, right? Market ended up opening. Where do we open up at? Right, we opened up above the level, so what are we looking for? We're looking for that pullback, buyers to hold, and then we're looking for a go, okay? And now I have my purple line because that was the previous day high, and really what we wanted to see was it pull down into this little zone here, right, which is previous day high, the purple, down into the red, and we just made a little pocket like this, okay? A little green zone. We're looking for buyers to hold that. Now, what ended up happening? You guys heard me on live. I was very vocal about it. I went down 40%, around 150 bucks on 5 contracts. I didn't add super heavy because we want to make sure buyers are able to hold this. You also have to understand that sometimes these orders, right, they're not gonna fill right away, and you're gonna have some not arbitrage, but you're going to have some slippage where this ends up pushing under and then the orders hit, right? Like market orders are going to sell and then push this down, and then the limit orders are going to kind of fill, and then you're going to have new market orders that come in that try to push it back up. So that's how you get that wick, right? That's why it's so important to wait for your higher time frame candles. So we did take the ad on this. It pushed down. We went down about 40%, but you can see it pushed back above, and then it started to close inside of our green zone, right? Remember, what we were looking for was a retest of the red, right, which is the top of that gap, and then candle close, right? As this candle closed right here, I took another ad. You guys can remember I was kind of narrating this on live. We were looking for a high break over these highs here. This is exactly how my chart looked. We pressed up, pressed up, pressed up, and then we broke out, right? Pretty simple. I don't think this was anything crazy, right? It's just I guess the understanding as well, with what kind of stock you're trading. Airbnb, if you guys don't know, not the highest volume, especially when considering that the other names that we trade in tech. Not a lot of volume, not a lot of liquidity in some of these contracts. Sometimes the spread is also like 3 to 0.5, so you're losing about 3 points, 5 points on just basic pullbacks if somebody can get the bid filled, right? And that's a pain, right? So I usually size in pretty non-aggressively as it makes its way down to retest these levels, and then once the candle closes and we get confirmation, then I'll start to incrementally size in. But remember, this was a very, very good trade. This ended up pushing almost all the way up. Got a new high obviously here, but from our entry down here where the candles had closed in our green zone, right, all the way up to like 138, maybe we were 2 points shy of target, but still Bulk of my position had been taken off at that like 30% mark. I took some off around 60, 50%, and then you kind of let the rest run, right? I had 2 contracts to run to 140. Of course, didn't really get that. We had this triple top formation here, where and that's just fine, right? This happens to charts, so they don't always have to go level to level. They want to, but buyers or sellers can step in at any time, and you guys can clearly see rejection there, and then it did sell back under. I'm pretty sure it sold under our opening print. Actually, no. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, that trade, probably not going to work out. Let's see, I don't know. I didn't see the close of this. Ended up, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it did come back down pretty much at the start of this thing, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it fill this overnight gap here. But that trade's done. I probably won't look at that for tomorrow, but nice 70% or so win. I know some of you guys went 80, some of you guys went 90, just depending how aggressively you added this little spot down here. But really good trade, I think, for the first trade back on live trading. Remember, managing your emotions, managing your sizing, managing your at least your knowledge of how particular stocks trade. I know this, like I said, this one's low liquidity. This one has typically lower volume. So moves if they're going to happen, they're going to be very quick. But if even for the downside, it's the same exact concept. So I like to wait for those candle closes. That should be something that everybody does, though, no matter what you're trading. Give yourself some grace. We're not all perfect. So understanding your level, understanding candle closes above, understanding that there are going to be wicks at times, and not trying to overreact to those wicks. That's the importance of not being oversized. But this ended up being a really nice trade. So if we take the SPY trade from the overnight win, that was about 80%. This was about 70 to 80. I think I personally hit like 76, 78, something in that realm. And then let's take a look at the last one. I'm pretty sure, honestly, I don't even remember what the last one was. I think it was SPX, right? Oh yeah, it was the SPX one. So let's take a look at that real quick. All right, correction here. I know I briefly went over the SPX trade, but I thought I took it here, but I actually took this at 1033. So I let this consolidation happen right here at this initial kind of zone that we were looking for it to retrace back towards, right? I want us to note too that there was a fair value gap here that was news correlated up here, right? So if we pull that, we should all understand that this is going to be kind of like your unbalanced range, right? The market does want to trade towards that eventually. So we have, this is a bearish one though, so think about it. It could be pushed up into it. You could take that long. Trying to find that bottom is sometimes difficult, but if it does catch momentum and you can catch your chop or your change of character, and you obviously look for that ideal entry on a break of structure, pullback, whatever it may be, you're looking for it to potentially trade here, and then you would obviously, right, look to go, let's say it does this right here, right, you'd look to go short right on the spot, get a continuation or lower highs back down, right? Usually that comes in our famous head and shoulders. That's how those will look. But yeah, I ended up actually taking the trade right here, right? I think what I ended up waiting for was a simple higher low off of this 456 spot. This trade was also, of course, correlated to that 456.38. Remember, this is that weekly level from last week. This is the high. You guys can see we've been chopping around 456. And 455 notoriously. We've been coming back to this anytime we get too far above, time too far below, we go right back. This is a crazy spot here, but like I said, I think we're in distribution, so it's going to be trading to this midpoint quite a bit, especially as like hands change, right? When I say that, I mean up here, this upper range, they're going to sell, right? And then it's going to make its way back towards the lower range. They're going to buy, right? So we're going to have a lot of like crossing of paths, right, as we move through these ranges, and it's going to continually hit that zone there. But we did get a low here, right? We popped kind of a lower high, of course, and then it pulled back down and we got a higher low. Remember, we don't really want to do things off the first higher low. We want to wait for that secondary one. And then you can pull your risk there, especially if you get a secondary higher low that breaks the lower high. That's your break of structure, right? Something like this would have been more ideal, and then you could have taken it up. That's my fault, but at the end of the day, this was a 70% win, right? I took win at 50, so I'm not going to apologize for that. But remember, these are the trades we want to look for, right? The ideal picture perfect trade would have been that. In that case, this wouldn't have been a trade, right? But we did have the low, kind of a micro higher low, and then it pushed out, and this is where I took the trade, right? We started to formulate kind of these smaller spread candles. We got this hammer here. I risked. I was very vocal, risk the low right here, so stop underneath this level. But we got a little pop here, and I thought we were going to get that BOS, which would have been really cool. Like I said, I wish we would have got that on here. I would have held these, or probably even sized in, and then look for that 458 spot for the fair value gap fill. Didn't happen, but ended up taking this off at 1.5 with a limit order. Really nice trade. I know some of you guys caught the 1.7, which was the full 70%. I, for full clarity, did not get that, but ultimately this ended up failing. Ended up being another lower high, of course, and then sold down, made a new low, and really just chopped here until obviously I noted, and this was the trade too, I didn't alert, right? Was right here. I ended up getting in one more time as it, kind of the same reason for this, right? It had this like low that it was kind of stuck to, right? And then it made a new low. We had a very, I wouldn't say high volume candle here, but this was relatively high for considering we were at the lows with the hammer, right? So I saw that. I saw us retest this spot. I did get in like right around here, and I risked this low. Had about $10,000 in this trade because I thought this was the one, and it popped, and I was up like what 20% or so, something like that. I might have been no, I think I was up. Actually, I think I actually got in this candle. I'm really sorry. I think I got in here, and then it pushed up, and I was up like 10-15% on like a 10 grand trade, and then it pulled back down, pushed up, and then once that ended up happening, I just saw that we were not going to get over this high right here, right? This 456.38, that weekly level. It looked like we had finally, you know, what's the right word? I guess come to our time. We were not going to trade back above. They pulled us back down, and I think this is just one more collection of inventory. So I accepted that. I knew that once we were underneath this like equilibrium, if you will, that we were going to trade back down. So I closed right here for a 4% loss. I lost like $400. This was off alert though, but that was the trade you guys saw on Twitter, I'm sure. I think I had like 95 cons, something like that. So not really painful. I mean, I was expecting way more. I was expecting a move all the way up to here, but I had, 10 grand. I was up about 20, so I was up about $2,000 on the small move here. Came down, popped back up, and then started to move back down, and I was like, okay. So that was the trade you guys saw. It wasn't anything super crazy. Like I said, $400 loss. It still finished 6% on the port after everything, right? And I guess we can just tie this into the last trade, which was Snow. Now, Snow, if you guys saw the whole debacle, right? I do want to make a point. I'm usually not like this, guys. I don't really care what people do with their money, but you guys got to realize if you're already green on like 3 trades, right? If you hit a 70%, a 60%, an 80%, in this case, I think all of them went 80% except for the SPX. There's no reason why one trade should set back everything, right? The only way that happens is if you are full porting trades, putting way too much into trades, or what you're doing is you're just taking alerts blindly and you're averaging down as it goes red, right? That's why I got upset at an individual today. I was like, dude, like I literally was so specific that I was only taking one contract, right? The only reason I took this trade is this sector is pretty hot, right? We got a peg candle there, right? If we take a look at crowd, which was the day prior, this is untouched, right? We were looking for a break over this high here, right? We had this, once again, we had this very clean candle here, right? We had a very strong flag pull, ended up being a high, tight flag, right? Where, remember, it doesn't break under the 0.5, or at least the midpoint of this strong bar. So we're now on the upper fourth, or I guess in this circumstance, maybe the upper third, and it's making higher low, bar by bar, higher lows, right? Then finally, it gets the breakout over the top, and it starts to trade towards what? The weekly high, right? This was that crowd trade. Some people made 300%. Congratulations. But what do you guys think is going to be a top focus now? I'm going to be looking at this sector and looking for laggers because this is technically a leader, right? Now we go to Snow. Snow, almost the same thing, right? Kind of the same thing. And this was actually after an earnings. So earnings, high volume, we have 2 gaps here, right? We have a gap here, which sellers are obviously pinned because it's above it. And then we have another peg candle, right, with another gap up. Same kind of concept. Obviously, this candle isn't as strong, but still the same concept, right? We have the kind of like the candle here. I wouldn't call this a flagpole. I mean, it's kind of like obviously a doji, but still same concept. We're trading within the confines of that, and you can see the spread diminishing. It's getting smaller and smaller, and this is why I took this trade. Look at this candle here. Clearly an inside bar. I took it as we were above the previous day high. which is right there. And then that's where the trade failed, right? I ended up taking it, risking this, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to take one. Goal for this trade is for it to pop out, maybe get a gap up, pull down, go, right? Obviously, it's not going to go to 200, but we were looking for a nice move from maybe like here, if it held, maybe a gap up, and then just hold here, maybe a little bit more, and then trim that, right? That's all I was looking for. Um, didn't happen, and that it's okay. It ended up breaking this higher low trend line here, and I closed the trade. I lost $100 on this one, so this was the only loss really of the day. Once again, though, I know my limitations, and I did want to make this kind of a case in point. If you guys are green on the day, don't take any more trades, right? Don't. Why would you jeopardize that? Or if you are, use profits. It's so key to use profit. There's no reason to go tilt and like lose your gains and get emotional about a single contract, or if you did well, it just doesn't make sense. So that was the reason I got upset today in chat and I just kind of like shut off because it's frustrating from like my not only because I'm trying to trade for myself, but I want people to have successful days and piece together winning days. And main thing for me is just your guys' mentality. And if you guys keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, or you guys can't get over the simple concept of controlling your impulses, or even so much as like taking a trade and if you're profitable, don't give back. If I make $300 in the day, why would I risk something that's over $300? Why not risk 50, right? So if I lose, I still net 250. You know what it's just like it's the most common sense thing, and when people don't grasp that, there's not much I can do to help, right? Because I just can't. There's nothing I can do for that. So this was a loss, absolutely, right? Volume upticked at the end of the day. We closed under the candle. Entry for me was like 1.4. These came down to 40, $50. I let it go so far, right? Because once again, I had a single contract. I have the flexibility of letting the daily close. The daily close like that, I lost $100. But um, it is what it is. I finished 3-1 on the day, which I will take any day, right? I basically took 3 trades that were all, I don't know, 4R. I think they were all 4R. The only one that wasn't 4R was SPX from a chart perspective, but that is also highly leveraged. So I think that was like a 2R, maybe a 2.5. But all of my stuff was calculated today. Even Snow was just using profits. So 3-1, I'll take it. Now we're going into Thursday, Friday. You guys should know we have NFP on Friday, which is going to be very, very volatile. It's an event a lot of people don't really expect to be volatile, but it is. Usually see a lot of stuff happen, right? Especially if I don't want to say what I think is going to happen, but NFP is usually pretty crazy. That and FOMC with either PPI or CPI, just depending on how the market is kind of looking, can always be the bigger factors. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I want to wrap this up. It's a quick one. This is all fresh on the mind, so just wanted to get it out as quick as I could. But I appreciate it. Good job to a lot of you guys today. If you didn't do so hot, it's okay, right? If you're afraid to take trades, that's what the point of this is. But I think a lot of people did really well on the 3 trades that I mainly did. This one, of course, we just got to eat it, right? It's a shot I was willing to take, and it's all good. So I will see you guys tomorrow on Thursday, and then Friday, of course. Just trade safe. Try to keep weekly profits afloat. Take care.